It's strange to be at your own funeral, even stranger when your family is the one who planned it. That's what I thought as I put on deep red lipstick. The same shade my mom always said was too much. I looked at myself in the mirror, staring hard at my reflection, daring it to blink first. They told everyone I was dead, not in a figurative way, but literally. They announced my death, held a service, even showed a slideshow, and I wasn't invited. For the past 12 years, I've lived quietly, far from them, out of sight. I built a life, a good one, but no matter how far I went, their silence followed me. It wasn't until last week that I learned the truth. A childhood friend messaged me out of the blue. "Wait, aren't you dead?" I laughed at first, but then I saw it, on Facebook. A family photo, my sister smiling, my parents proudly standing behind her, and the comment, "We miss her every day, she would have been 33 this year." They had killed me with their words, buried me with their lies, but now I'm back, and they have no idea what's coming. I clipped on my earrings, smoothed my black dress, and stood tall. Today, the family gathers again for joy, for a picture-perfect moment, and I'll be in it. The ghost they tried to erase is about to knock on their door. Some people grow up with love in their homes, family dinners, bedtime stories, a mother's gentle touch. I didn't. In my house, love was conditional, approval was everything, and I was always lacking. My mom believed in discipline, not affection. She measured worth by silence and obedience, and I failed both. My dad was a ghost, always around but never truly present. Then there was my sister, the golden child, perfect grades, perfect looks, perfect lies. I was nothing like them. I asked questions, I spoke out when things felt wrong, and I didn't fake smiles. To them, that made me rebellious, disrespectful, and shameful. They called me ungrateful for wanting to be heard, unstable for having feelings, unlovable for being myself. By 16, I learned that silence was not just survival, it was expected, but even then, I still hoped they might see me. Then I met Eli. He was kind, gentle, and funny, without asking for anything. He came from a different world, but he made me feel seen, valued, and alive. When my mom found out, she didn't scream, she just looked at me and said, "You're not one of us anymore." Then came the ultimatum, choose us or him. I asked if I could choose myself. That was the last straw. On my 18th birthday, they gave me a gift, a black trash bag with my clothes, a bus ticket to nowhere, and a goodbye without words. No hugs, no tears, just the sound of the door closing behind me. I sat on the street, holding that trash bag, wondering if I ever really mattered to them. No one chased me, no one called, not then, not ever. I wasn't just unwanted, I was erased. But what they didn't know was that the girl they threw away would grow into a woman they'd one day regret. It had been nearly 10 years since I last heard from them, and I had accepted it. No birthdays, no holidays, no guilt calls pretending everything was fine. I had made peace with their silence, until it spoke again. It was a normal Tuesday afternoon. I was sipping coffee when a Facebook message popped up. A name from the past, someone I hadn't heard from since high school. The message was short. "Hey, is this really you? I thought you were dead." I froze. I reread the message. Dead? I thought maybe it was a mistake. So I replied, "Yeah, it's me. Why would you think that?" She quickly responded, "My parents told everyone you died in a car accident right after you left. They even talked about it at a church service a few years ago." My mom, the same woman who couldn't even look me in the eye when she kicked me out, had stood in front of a crowd and cried, telling them she lost her daughter to rebellion. "Sometimes, when you leave family, the world punishes you." She cried for the daughter she killed with her own lies. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was no accident, no obituary, no grave, just a lie, dressed up as truth. I asked my old friend if she had any proof. She sent me a picture from that church event, a slideshow, candles, and a framed photo of me at 16, the one where I still had braces and hope in my eyes. They didn't just cut me off. They didn't just pretend I never existed. They declared me dead to everyone, family, friends, even God, and no one questioned it. No one came looking. No one wondered if the story seemed too perfect, too convenient. I wasn't missing. I wasn't dead. I was just inconvenient. So they wrote me out of their lives like a bad chapter they didn't want to remember. But here's the thing about ghosts, they don't stay buried forever. After the lie, I disappeared, not out of shame, but out of survival. They wanted me dead. Fine, I let the old version of me die, but the woman I became was born in fire. 4 years, I kept my head down and my heart guarded. No help, no handouts, no family. I worked 3 jobs, diner waitress by morning, bookstore cashier by night, scrubbing offices in between. I slept in borrowed rooms, survived on instant noodles and ambition, but with every shift, every dollar saved, every exam passed with bloodshot eyes and blistered fingers, I came back to one sentence: they said I was dead, and that sentence became fuel. I put myself through school, graduated with honors, turned a freelance design gig into a 6-figure interior design business. Clients trusted me with their homes because I had built mine from nothing. No safety net, no congratulations, just grit, scars, and an unshakable promise to myself: if I ever came back, it wouldn't be to beg, it would be to show them what they lost. For a while, that was enough. Success filled the silence they left behind, but then the silence started whispering again. It was another old friend, a mutual acquaintance who had stayed close with the family. She texted me a link, the family Facebook page. There it was, my parents grinning ear to ear beneath a banner that read 40th anniversary celebration. All family welcome, all family except me. There were dozens of comments, dozens of photos, people reminiscing about the good old days, tagging my sister, mentioning cousins, aunts, uncles, and not one mention of me, not a shadow, not a whisper, not even a lie. They hadn't just killed me off, they had rewritten the story as if I was never born. I stared at the screen for a long time, then I closed the laptop and stood up. You wanted me gone so badly? Fine, but if you're going to pretend I'm a ghost, I'll give you a haunting you'll never forget. It was time to return, not to ask for love, but to deliver the truth face to face. The day was bright, too bright, almost. One of those picture-perfect afternoons where everything looks calm, right before a storm hits. The house hadn't changed, same white fence, same rose bushes, same cold feeling in my chest the moment I stepped out of the car. Laughter spilled from the open patio, champagne glasses clinked, old hymns played softly through the speakers. Relatives I hadn't seen in over a decade stood shoulder to shoulder, sharing memories I was never part of. They looked so happy, so proud, so certain that the past had stayed buried, but not for long. I didn't knock, I didn't need to. I walked through the gate slowly, calmly, heels clicking like a metronome, counting down the seconds to impact. A few people glanced my way with polite, confused smiles. They didn't recognize me, not yet, not until Aunt Ruth dropped her glass. The shatter was sharp, instant silence followed, all heads turned, and then I saw her, my sister. She froze mid-laugh, mouth still curved in a smile that didn't know it was about to die. Her eyes locked onto mine like she was seeing a ghost, because to her, that's exactly what I was. Is this some kind of sick joke? She said, her voice just loud enough to tremble. I took one more step forward, lifted my chin, met her fear with fire. No joke, I said, I'm very much alive. No one spoke, no one moved, even the music stopped, or maybe someone shut it off. I'll never know. All I remember is the weight in the air, thick with guilt and confusion. I looked around the crowd, old family, friends, distant cousins, people who had prayed for my soul at a memorial that never should have happened. Some of them had tears in their eyes, others looked away, and then there were my parents standing by the cake table, pale as stone. My father gripped the edge of the table like he might fall. My mother reached for her necklace, the cross she always clutched when she lied. I took another step. You can relax, I said. I didn't come to ruin your little party. I just came to remind you, you can't bury someone who isn't dead. The silence cracked, and underneath it, the truth began to rise. I stood in the center of their perfect celebration, surrounded by people who once wept for me like I was gone, the dead girl now standing in full color. I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila folder, old school, intentional, nothing digital. This moment needed paper, something they could touch and not deny. Before you tell more lies to cover the last ones, I said, my voice steady, let's clear the air. I opened the folder and held up the first page, a printed obituary. There it was, my name in bold, my birth date, a fake date of death, and a short, sanitized paragraph about how she left us too soon and found peace after a troubled time. Gasps echoed around the room. Someone whispered a prayer. My mother looked like she might faint. Someone had taken the time to write this about me, to print it, to hand it out at church like a flyer for grief. I flipped to the next page, photos, me holding my first apartment keys, wearing a graduation cap, cutting the ribbon on my design studio, passport stamps, business licenses, utility bills, proof of life. Year after year, you buried me in rumor, but while you wept over a lie, I was building a life. I turned to face my sister. She hadn't moved, her eyes were wide, fingers clenched tight around a champagne flute. "And you," I said coldly, "you sold my things." Her lips parted, but nothing came out. "I know you cleaned out my room," I continued, "claimed I left nothing behind. You took my grandmother's ring, the one meant for me, and wore it as if it were yours. You didn't just steal my things. You stole my story, my silence, my name." She tried to speak, to explain, but there was no room left for excuses, not with the truth spread across the room like broken glass. I turned slowly, locking eyes with each person. "All of you stood by," I said. "You listened to the lies, repeated them, believed them because it was easier than asking what really happened. You lied to bury me, but now the dead speak." The room fractured. Some people cried, others stormed out. My aunt shouted something about forgiveness while my cousin started pacing, furious that no one ever told him the truth. Voices overlapped, panic, guilt, confusion. The careful mask this family wore for years was shattering in real time. And me, I just stood there, calm, alive, unapologetic, letting the fire burn. I didn't need to stay for the fallout. I had said what needed to be said, dropped truth like a match into a room soaked in gasoline. Now it burned, not with rage, but with reckoning. As I turned to leave, no one dared stop me. The same people who once whispered about my troubled spirit now stood speechless in the wreckage of their own lies. I walked out as silently as I had walked in, but this time, I wasn't running, I was rising. Behind me, I heard footsteps, soft, hesitant. A few younger cousins, wide-eyed, followed me to the driveway. "I'm sorry," one of them said barely above a whisper. "We didn't know." I nodded, not out of forgiveness, but out of recognition. Not everyone had sharpened the knives, some just stood by while I bled. And then a child's voice. I turned to see a little girl, no more than 8, clinging to her mother's dress. She looked at me like I was a warrior from a storybook, not dead, not broken, just brave. She didn't say a word, but her eyes said everything. As I stepped into my car, I looked at the house one last time. They thought cutting me off was the end, but what they buried grew back stronger. It's been 6 months. The party is a memory now, faded, but not forgotten. The whispers still ripple through the family, but I don't care, because for the first time, I'm the one telling the story. I wrote everything down, shared it in a podcast, my words, my truth, my voice finally heard, and something strange happened. People listened. Strangers reached out, other ghosts, daughters, sons, siblings who'd been buried by bloodlines and betrayal. I'm no longer the ghost they created. I'm the storm they didn't see coming, and I'm not done, because truth doesn't die when it's ignored. It grows louder, brighter, unstoppable. The final shot, me standing on my balcony at sunrise, the wind in my hair, my hands on the railing, and the city breathing below. No shadows, no silence, just me, alive and seen. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more great stories. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. See you next time, and take care.